between the tower and the other buildings, including the consented schemes for Bishop's Palace, shown in grey, and Topo, shown in a blue wire line, changes as you walk over the bridge. The impact of Eden Walk in relation to its context is relatively low. Similarly at Market Place, it's important that the Market House remains the focus. As you can see, or can't see, the visibility of the development is extremely slight. In this view, the development is just to the left of the Market House, and where it is visible, it merges into the background, like other buildings. Again, this view shows how well hidden the development is, even from relatively close quarters. The development here is just seen to the right of the chimney between the gables of the half-timbered, double-gabled building, numbers 32 to 33 Market Place. This reduced visibility is a direct result of us reducing the height of the development. There are, of course, places where it's preferable that the development is not seen at all, for example at Hampton Court. This is one of the several views tested, looking down one of the lime avenues towards All Saints, which focuses the view. Eden Walk is shown by the red dotted line, and the Kingston riverfront buildings are shown in yellow, and Topo and the other developments are shown in blue. Even in winter, when this image was taken, the development is not visible at all. It's worth noting that the historic royal palaces and the royal parks have no objection to the development. Clearly, the development will be visible close to, and here it's important that it's knitted into the immediate existing context. But due to the tight nature of the streets, the development is never seen as a whole, and it's read in fragments as part of street views. For this reason, we looked at the development as a series of character areas to enable each section to respond to the differing local condition. For example, at Union Street, that we've got existing on the left and proposed on the right. This view is taken looking down Union Street opposite the United Reformed Church, and in the existing condition you can see the currently poor, fragmented street front dominated by the low quality entrance to the car park, all of which contribute to the low pedestrian experience. Our proposal, to the right, repairs and improves the street frontage, providing continuity to the street elevations. The residential massing is set back, reducing the impact and producing a successful relationship with the Old Town conservation area to the left. This view looks directly towards the United Reformed Church. It shows the new landscape public square between the church and Eden Walk. This is a new south-facing space, similar in scale to Apple Market, with a new route, Union Way, leading directly into the centre of the development. This new square, as well as providing a welcome place to sit and meet, provides an enhanced setting for the United Reformed Church. This view is taken looking up Eden Street with the old post office to the right. The current Eden Walk presents a largely blank and dead elevation to Eden Street, and the current setting of the post office is poor. The key relationship it has with its neighbouring sorting office and its function is lost, but it holds a strong place on the corner of Eden Street, particularly when looking east down Eden Street from Union Street to the marketplace. This is a view that some may find challenging. I understand that, and I'd like to explain how we have thought about and evolved the design to give what we think is an appropriate response. Yes, there is an increase in intensity. Yes, there is an increase in height, mass and volume. But Eden Street becomes vibrant. There are shop fronts, a space for the community use, building entrances, activity, a strong street edge, providing extremely positive benefits for Kingston, reversing the currently dead condition.
Please let us speak.
In terms of design, the proposal is clearly articulated with a strong base, middle and top, and the residential buildings have been broken up to allow light and views through to a clear sky. The primary experience for the pedestrian will be the lower podium, which has a scale and material treatment directly evolved from the old post office. The colours, textures and tones directly refer to the stone and brick of the post office, and is an honest, contemporary response. Up above, set within their own rooftop gardens and set back from the podium face, is the residential part of the development. The homes above work to a different aesthetic, providing an appropriate combination of windows, privacy and balcony spaces. In relation to the old post office, the primary aspects of setting, that is the relationship with the sorting office and the views down Eden Street, do not change, and the qualities of the post office can be easily experienced. And in townscape terms, the Eden Street frontage is vastly improved, providing a much better experience for those walking past. The residential part of the development is visible from Fairfield Park, itself a residential area. It continues the pattern of development set by the existing hotel to the right, but is of a superior quality, and it sits between it and the consented topo scheme, which is shown in blue, the blue line to the left. Over the development of the project, we have made significant changes to the massing to achieve this clearly articulated skyline. We will also relocate the War Memorial to a calmer setting just a few metres away from where it is now, and will upgrade the memorial gardens. The combination of the increase in footfall across the garden and the increase in natural surveillance should reduce the antisocial behaviour currently apparent there and reclaim the garden for Kingston residents. This approach is strongly supported by the British Legion. We are also providing new links into the development from Union Street and from the Memorial Gardens. This improves connectivity to Clarence Street, Bentle Centre and the Marketplace. It reintroduces a historic route into the site and extends the network of lanes within the town centre, those routes which are so much part of the character of Kingston. The new route has the added advantage of opening up new views of All Saints, all of which helps to embed the developments within the historic core of Kingston. In all cases, we believe that no harm has been caused by the development, a view shared by the GLA, and the Historic England also concur that there is no substantial harm. Overall, we have produced a high-quality scheme that is both distinctive in its own right, as well as responding to its local context. Eden Walk will be fully embedded into the town centre. It respects its neighbouring listed buildings and conservation areas, and at the same time offers something of high quality which is new.
Thank you, Sarah. I hope that has demonstrated our comprehensive and professional approach. On this project, achieving the right balance between the heritage considerations and the quantum of development required to make the scheme viable has been a very delicate balance. We agree it is vitally important that you as decision makers are in possession of the full facts in respect of the scheme's viability. This is why we were pleased to share the numbers that make up the viability assessment with members. Many developers shy away from disclosing such information, but right from the outset, we have been open and honest about what this scheme has the financial ability to deliver. One of our biggest challenges to creating a viable development is the value of the existing centre, worth about £88 million, derived from the value of the existing rental income. This is not like buying a largely vacant site for development. We cannot artificially reduce the value of the existing asset, so the land value used in the appraisal has to be the existing use value. We have communicated for a long time that the viability of the scheme precludes the provision of any affordable housing. The scale and massing of the development needed to provide full compliance with policy targets would be unacceptable. Our approach has therefore been to accept a lower minimum return than many of our competitors would demand, and offer the council a 50% share of profits above our minimum 15% return. We will be legally bound to a fully transparent financial review on completion of the scheme, documented in the Section 106 agreement. The review will be based on actual costs and values, so the council will be confident it has secured the maximum payment the development can truly afford. During our conversations with residents about housing, we were asked whether there was something we could propose as a minimum guaranteed offer. Our response is that 10% of the units are to be starter homes, offered exclusively to those living or working in the borough at a 20% discount to market value. There will be covenants ensuring that these units are maintained at the 20% discount in perpetuity. I would now like to talk to you about some of the benefits that arise from this development. As this slide shows, the delivery of this scheme has significant economic benefits for Kingston. The greatly improved retail and leisure facilities provided by the New Eden Walk will complement those which currently exist in Kingston, attracting lost shoppers back to the town centre. Importantly, once the new scheme is open, it is forecast that an extra 6p of every £1 available from the wider catchment will be spent across Kingston town centre as a whole, boosting trade for existing retailers, independents and the markets. Given the challenges of local government finance, the development will help the council by providing an additional £3 million a year in business rates and over £700,000 a year in additional council tax. We have developed an employment skills and training strategy with the help of the Kingston Skills and Employment Working Group, focusing on maximising local employment for the 700 jobs created during construction and the 600 additional jobs created when the centre opens. We also commit to deliver wide-ranging training and upskilling programmes that are targeting 1 in 20 of the workforce of the construction site, being apprentices, shared apprentices or trainees. Our values run to the core of everything we do. Take sustainability. British Land were again recently voted in the top 100 most sustainable businesses in the world. This will be one of the most sustainable developments Kingston has ever seen. Both the new offices and the retail space will be built to BREEAM Excellent. It will feature photovoltaic solar panels, green roofs, sustainably sourced materials and rainwater recycling. We will also manage the entire development for the long term using our directly employed site management and security team. We want to make Kingston proud of the New Eden Walk. Clearly that is not something it can say of the current centre. However, as substantial as these macroeconomic benefits are, the consultation with local residents taught us that borough-wide significance is not the only thing that matters. As a direct result, we have continued throughout the application period to develop our local offer, introducing things that will benefit local businesses and residents. We are now committing that all 25,000 square feet of the new Grade A office space will be exclusively marketed to local businesses for a period of 6 months, and that an additional 10,000 square feet of office space will be exclusively reserved for local organisations at a discounted rent. There will also be a unit on Eden Street exclusively for community use. We will continue to run events in the centre for the benefit of Kingston and its community, utilising the new central space, which will be 30% larger than it is at present. We will also continue to support a range of community projects and charities. We would now like to show you a 2-minute film showing what this investment will mean to some of Kingston's investors, retailers, businesses and residents.
Kingston hasn't seen much change or much development over the last 20 years probably. We do need to move forward. It'll bring housing to the town, it'll bring jobs to the town, it'll bring local jobs to the town, apprenticeships, and it brings more money. Kingston hasn't seen much change or much development over the last 20 years probably. We do need to move forward. It'll bring housing to the town, it'll bring jobs to the town, it'll bring local jobs to the town, apprenticeships, and it brings more money into the town, so there'll be more people spending more money that will be kept in the town centre.
The area is run down, it's dreary, the footfall is down and it's uninteresting, and if you want to attract people to this part of Kingston, it has got to be redeveloped.
We own the Benthall Shopping Centre and a number of shops on Clarence Street, and we are long-term investors in that town. We see it as a very positive location to invest. We're constantly looking to improve the retail offer within our holdings, within our properties. It's not just about Eden Walk, it's not just about the Benthall Centre, it's about the town as a whole improving and remaining competitive.
Development of the whole of Kingston is important for us. Eden Walk is probably one of the areas which is a little bit tired now, could do with an update. And I think if we lift the whole of the area up, all the better for the borough. There's a fantastic shopping centre here with the main department stores down to Little Independence, keeping a really good mix of that office space, the residential and all the retail, I think is very important as well.
Kingston has got to have a body in the middle with the right residential accommodation. A town with a no-go centre is going to become a wild place, and it needs residents to stabilise.
Kingston needs to attract more nighttime economy, which is different from what we currently have. At the moment, we are one of the few cultural pillars within the borough to actually have more of our potential audience actually living in the town, looking for something to do in the evening. I think that will be very good for the nighttime economy, good for Kingston, and also very good for the roads.
Unfortunately, we've been cursed with too many naysayers, people who want to keep Kingston as a little old village. And it isn't a village, it's a very important shopping and commercial centre. We need more people here in the town centre to live and to enjoy what is a great town.
Because of the way the consultation's been conducted, the way it's taken into account of everybody's views, I think it should go at the end of the review meeting, somebody at the back shout out, "Oh, right, just get on and build it." And I think that's fine. I would support that view.
Where there are challenges, there are also opportunities, and I believe that this scheme brings real opportunity for Kingston that it can ill afford to miss.
In conclusion, we hope that we have convinced you that our mixed-use development is right for Kingston. It will deliver transformational, social and economic benefits for the town and the borough as a whole. There are moments in time when great opportunities are there to be taken. We hope that the council will seize this opportunity and secure this investment for Kingston and its future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes your presentation. If you'd like to retire, I have a list of residents who've been given to me by Keith Payne who wish to come and raise some issues at this stage. If you'd like to step forward, I've got a list of people. I don't intend to read you all out, but I think you know who you are. But when you speak, please come forward. If you'd like to say who you are and whether you're a Kingston resident or not, that'd be great. And obviously say what you're going to be speaking about. So you'll have the same, not the same 30 minutes, you'll have another 30 minutes to address these issues to the committee. And when you're ready, the time is yours.
My name is Keith Payne and I'm a resident. I just want to check if this sounds okay. Alright, thank you. Chair, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to bring to your attention the issues and concerns we and fellow residents have raised regarding the scheme before you. At the early public consultations, we were quietly optimistic. There was a lot to be said about the positive aspects, and the developers have a long-term commitment to Kingston, as I've said. We hoped to be able to support the scheme. However, when the planning submission went in, we could see for the first time and understand the scheme in its totality. there is a lot more to this than the now familiar brochure view of the inner courtyard that you can see on the screen and the flattering visuals. We now see around us the elevations and the eye-level views from the street and from the parks and from the bridge. We see the magnitude of the towers of flats rising far above. Now, the developers team is impressive and very pleasant, but this does not make their proposal right. So we ask, does the development earn the right to be the tallest in Kingston town, and taller even than the Riverside development? And is it okay to breach the Eden Quarter brief height guidance over the whole site by up to 50%? And this is excluding the 9+ story element. And are we happy with such a massive development harming our heritage and open spaces? And can we accept so little coming back in the form of affordable housing and contribution to schools and infrastructure from this £400 million scheme? It has become clear to us that in reality, this is a massive overdevelopment of the site, and with too little give back. We agree with Historic England, who, by the way, cannot support this, and neither can we. Now, there's a lot to consider here, and there are a lot of issues. So we have attempted to group them into 8 or 9 topics, which we're going to present to you tonight. We have, on my right, Pete, who's going to talk to you about scale, heights and payments. Then we have Andre next, talking on infrastructure and public spaces. Then we'll have Tony talking on design and mix of use. And then finally, George is going to represent the Kingston on Thames Society and talk about heritage. Now, when this committee refused applications in the past, we saw them coming back better later on. This application should be refused. The applicant should go away and come back with something more appropriate. I'd like to start by talking about the consultation process. The applicant has skillfully managed the consultation process. The proposal was shown to the public at a series of presentations. The information and images started with convincing artist impressions, light, airy spaces and delicate buildings. The focus was the inner courtyard again, while the tall buildings disappeared out of frame. Now, they say they have consulted, but the images shown at the consultations were partial. This is not really consultation. A true consultation must involve a clear and open understanding. And as a result, many thought it was quite pleasing, and many dropped out of the process. And then they submitted the application on Guy Fawkes Day, the very same day as the old post office decision. Had the old post office not taken centre stage at this time, this application would have been even more explosive and shocking review. But despite this, here are the groups that opposed the scheme. Now, 141 has gone up to 160. Just had confirmed today, and that's quite a strong amount of people who don't like this. And they gave what can be summarised in 52 reasons why they don't like it. And also housing and GLA are there because they have significant concerns. And as we said, Historic England can't support us. And CABE, the design panel, although they were looking at an earlier scheme, a lot of their criticisms still apply. Following the submission, we met with the applicant's team and we made it very clear that we were not happy. We were not happy with the true height and scale and mass of the submission. and we were not happy that they only revealed this after it was too late.
My name is Peter Smith, I'm another resident. Part of the, possibly the main issue, is the scale of the proposed development as a whole. It is massive. It's too big for this site. It's too dense, and it's gross overdevelopment. The quantum of the development is not appropriate for the site. It will be like having the old post office development on top of a multi-level retail development. 385 flats plus 338. If we look at some further images, these people that you see are not ants. It's going to be higher than anything else in the vicinity. And 16 stories is very high by Kingston standards. It would be considerably higher than the nearest tall building, combined house, Premier Inn, and higher even than the Riverside development, currently the tallest building in the much wider vicinity and considered to be excessively high and harmful to Kingston and the surrounding news. It is against the character of the surrounding area. This proposal will be taller than even the wider existing landscape, yet we were promised by the leader of the council that nothing taller than the existing landscape is worth looking at. We now have 7 days at the Kingston Conversation at the Mayo Centre on the 10th of September 2015. It will dominate the skyline and cast a long shadow over the public spaces it is supposed to be improving. It will dwarf the United Reformed Church and the old post office, historic assets we are supposed to be cherishing. As regards the Eden Quarter brief, the height guidance in the brief for this area is 1 to 5 stories and 6 to 8 stories, with one location in the middle to be 9 plus stories. But the height guidance would be exceeded across the entire site with this development. The Union Terrace building is over 40% of the recommended height guidance. Eden Crescent building nearly 40% over, and LBR Winter Garden building is 50% over. The key objective of the brief is to respect existing historic assets and character. New buildings must be appropriate in scale, materials and grain to their context. That is not what we are seeing here. We find it strange that the officer's report makes no mention of these height guidance breaches. We are increasingly concerned that the Eden Quarter brief is clearly not informing your decisions, and you must take this clear breach of policy into account. As regards affordable housing and infrastructure payments, another major issue in this submission is the complete absence of affordable housing on site and no guaranteed contribution to affordable housing off-site. And by the way, starter homes are not affordable housing. Neither we understand is there any contribution to infrastructure. That means no money on the table towards health, education, roads, trains and buses. The council and its officers will be negotiating the financial arrangements, and we appreciate your efforts, but we do not appreciate the very low starting point the application has come in at, and we cannot let this distract us from the many other issues in this application. We understand the applicant may be within their rights to use the viability report which they described in their presentation, but if British Land makes little or no contribution, this would be morally wrong. The deal submitted was worse than what we got from the old post office, but at least that will provide some affordable housing on site, and it too has also got a proposed profit sharing review mechanism in addition. We believe the viability of these contributions should take into account the skills, experience and size of the developer British Land. It should take into account their ability to manage risks and to raise low-cost capital, bearing in mind that Bank of England base rates are still 0.5%. A minimum guaranteed return of 15% is excessive for this tier of industry, and there's a massive difference between a small to medium-sized builder developing 10 homes and one of the top 5 developers in the country delivering £1 billion worth of projects like this every year.
Hello, my name is Andre Fries. I also live locally. I'm going to be talking about the impact on local infrastructure and public spaces. So the questions are, on local infrastructure, where are the doctors' surgeries for these residents to go to? Where is the school that the residents' children will go to? How are all these residents going to work? Crossrail 2 is still 15 or 20 years away and will only take you into London, central London, and not improve connections across the southwest. If you compare this to the Toby Jug development that was refused only last week, in spite of the fact it had a doctor's surgery, a children's day nursery on site, and the developers offered $5 million towards providing a bus stop on site. None of these are true for this development. We also have to consider the cumulative effect if you combine this with the other existing and improved developments, such as the old post office. Together, these two developments add 723 housing units, on top of the 300 plus homes at Queenshurst, Surrey Basin. That's a lot more people to fit into the overcrowded trains, buses and roads, schools, surgeries and public spaces that Kingston has. How can we possibly say yes to this development without a proper examination of our town's existing infrastructure needs and problems and what can be done to alleviate them? This 400 million scheme adds to these infrastructure problems but does nothing towards providing solutions. With regard to public spaces, we believe, as do a lot of residents, that these improvements do not go far enough. As Kingston Town Centre becomes increasingly urbanised, we are not currently an urban destination, nor are we metropolitan. The need for effective public space increases as density increases. People travelling on packed trains, buses and living in tiny shoebox flats will need more and better public space to counteract this. With the increased number of residents and general scale of the proposal, are the public spaces in Eden Walk really big enough? The current Eden Walk open space is unassuming, but it is effective. This is known to people who use it and sit there and enjoy the warmth that one gets when one comes outside. Its proportions are human. Its atmosphere warm, friendly and sunny. This will not be the experience for users of the revised public space, which, as we all clearly know from the tall buildings, will create very long shadows to fall across its courtyard. Far less sunlight will reach the people in it. In fact, there will be less than 2 hours sunshine per day from September to March, making this open area cold and bleak, no doubt forcing everyone into the local restaurants to improve the trade there. The space will be looked down upon by the residents. The amount of seating that is currently there, 64 spaces, will be reduced, and the new offer is not ergonomically good to sit on. Its space and focus is compromised by the glass structure, providing access to the lower levels. Meanwhile, furthermore, while the sunny courtyard next to the United Reformed Church is a welcome addition, it in no way makes up for the poor public realm in the centre of Eden Walk. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tony Lancaster of the Riverside Residents Association. I'd like to talk briefly about what I consider to be some poor design and the impact of this scheme. The Cave report criticised the earlier scheme design, but actually much of their criticisms would still apply, and I would expect the current scheme to be resubmitted for their comments and the appropriate revisions to be made. And let's consider the elements one by one. First, the Union Terrace building. If we were to stand in the inner courtyard as proposed, but instead of looking at the brochure view, you were to look the other way, you would see the Union Terrace building. The sensation you are having is the blood draining from your eyes. From every angle, this is an abysmal looking building. It is dull and plain and does nothing for the place or surrounding area. This is the connection to the old town and is an opportunity to unite the Eden Walk development with the existing market building. But instead it is very flat and monolithic and out of scale with the smaller scale buildings of the nearby Apple Market area. If we now look at the Great Wall of Eden Street, at street level you see the creation of a great monolith that would harm the existing grain of the old town centre, characterised as it is by small individual plots and vertical variation in street views. The scheme has not really responded in kind. In fact, we agreed with Cave's September statement, which said the 3-storey horizontal band that is the base of this block creates a datum that emphasises the enormity of the built form. Overall, the tall building and the adjoining lower elements create an unduly imposing wall onto Eden Street. A more successful approach would be to create individual buildings whose verticality is expressed more clearly. The notion of placing an entirely disparate element on top of the colonnaded lower stores is an interesting idea, but I don't think it can claim to be successful in execution. Crudely put, it looks to me plonked onto the lower section, and in reality will do nothing to mitigate its enormity and its diminishing impact on the old post office and the street itself. Finally, looking at the Neville Yard buildings, I have to say this is the worst offender on height breaches. Like the bookend building in the old post office development, this has been submitted at 12 stories, yet the Eden Quarter brief states 6 to 8 stories. It's a clear breach of policy, as the committee described it in the old post office case. This is harmful because its bulk and height compromises the 16-story landmark Topper building by obscuring it from view, would you believe? Why have a wayfinding townscape marker at 16 stories if you can't see it when making the important approach from Station Quarter? In the old post office, the offending building was reduced to 8 stories. We would expect the same rules to apply here. We also think that the proposal offers a questionable mix of use and quality. With this scheme, the applicants are betting Kingston's future on this mix of retail, leisure and flats above shops. But have they got it right? Many residents don't feel they have. I'm not able to verify this, but one resident pointed out in their objections that the scheme would deliver a net loss of 1,364 square metres of office space, 30% less tradable shop spaces, 30% less office space, and 100% less financial and professional services, replaced with 470% more food and beverage space. The scheme will also deliver a loss of comparable floor space in the prime shopping area and a loss of department store. Larger retail areas, including what are currently Boots, Sainsbury's and BHS, will be divided into smaller shops. This, while larger Kingston retailers complain that they need larger premises. We ask, does Kingston really need another cinema? The cinema is fundamentally the wrong solution for a location with a panoramic view. We wonder if the flats are fit for purpose. The GLA has raised concerns regarding poor quality north-facing single aspect rooms and excessively deep flats, and only 9% of the flats are 3-bed or more, less than for the old post office. This Eden Walk scheme would be the largest single development in the borough for decades, but at what cost to Kingston's character and to its aspirations and its identity? What is it really giving back to the existing community? I know, a destination for more shops. Is that all there is? In 5 years, all we get is a new mecca for shoppers, more traffic and less of a community feel. We want to urge you, the council, to reject this application as it stands and ask them to come back, as St George did, with a better and improved, smaller scheme.
George Robinis. The Kingston upon Thames Society strongly objects to this application. The scheme is excessively tall, bulky, even taller than the monstrous Premier Inn and Travel Lodge opposite the library. Every part of the proposed development exceeds the height specified in the Eden Quarter development brief and therefore is in direct contravention to the Council's own adopted policy. The Eden Crescent buildings would have a disastrous impact on the listed post office and the United Reformed Church. These are classified as heritage assets as set out in the National Planning Policy Framework. The historic character will be significantly damaged by the overwhelming height of the new buildings. However, the applicant states, the assessment concludes that there is a minor neutral impact on the Grade 2 listed United Reformed Church. This is a ludicrous claim, given that the proposed scale of the development that will surround the church. The elevation facing the United Reformed Church is overwhelming, dwarfing this historic building. But English Heritage says the Eden Crescent building would completely dominate these listed buildings due to its height, bulk and proximity.